this week's episode. We're
Pulling a real
blind
god,
here.
pulling a real Godzuki, am I right?
Yes, he was the worst.
Yeah. Welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast, everyone. I am Brad, hanging out with Josh.
Godzuki.
This is the Godzuki in which we rate and Godzuki an album that is turning Godzuki years old.
Here on the WB.
The WB. Well, we're off to a good start.
Yeah.
This is a podcast. It is that.
Yep.
In which we rate and review an album that is turning 20 years old, mostly metal for whatever it's worth. Super this week. Josh and I each give a rating of 1 to 5 to 4 different parameters for an individual maximum point total of 20 and a combined maximum point total of Godzuki.
Yeah.
You can do math. I don't even need to correct it. What are we doing this week?
We have Bloodbath's 2004 album, Nightmares Made Flesh.
Fuck yes.
It is pretty cool. I'm actually genuinely excited about this.
Same.
Before we dive too far into it, though, I'll do the backstory quick, and then we'll get to the question that I want to ask you. Bloodbath, Stockholm, Sweden, is where they originated, kind of as like a side project for a couple different bands. They've had some
like a super group
almost, just to let off some death metal steam as
that's
their
the best kind of steam.
primary bands, I guess. Transitioned kind of away from that sound to a large degree.
Yeah.
Active for 6 years at this point, formed in 1998. Only one released prior to this, one studio album, Resurrection Through Carnage in 2002.
It's a sick fucking album title, by the way.
It really, they do a lot right. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
On all fronts. I mean, they should. They're all part of huge metal bands.
And they're Scandinavian, which definitely doesn't hurt.
Does not hurt. This album in particular was released in September 27th, 2004, and it is categorized under the genre death metal. Now, Brad, for the viewers at home, listeners at home who don't know, because I totally do, hashtag asking for a friend, what would qualify this as death metal?
I don't want to oversimplify it by saying everything.
Oh, okay.
But essentially,
this is kind of like, even I heard it and I was like, oh, this is death metal.
Yeah, this is capital D, capital M, death metal at its, like, there's no frills. It's not overly technical. It's not under technical. It's not like too simplistic. It's not, I mean, it is just fucking down the middle. Like, it's almost like hero worship of old death metal, like, in a way. Like, even before Cannibal Corpse got super technical, Deicide, any of those dudes, like, before they all became what they became, this is almost like the hero worship of, like, the
golden age.
Yes, but without sounding like shit.
Oh,
and
sweet.
I have a whole rant about that as well, because I hate the current state of death metal. But, like,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge thing, but it's just like, it's become very popular to make death metal now that sounds like shit. Like, it's like old production. And I laugh at that when I hear this album that is 20 years old, or else we wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And yet it sounds amazing. So all these douchebags with their shitty sounding death metal, and it's like, and people eat it up, by the way. Like, I'm in the minority, I think.
Probably, yeah.
But the new wave of death metal, I can't even say I'm a death metal fan at this point. Like, I think I am.
You did recently say, like, you're not a modern death metal fan.
No, because it's almost like, unless you're doing technical death metal, you're trying to sound bad. And right. I don't understand it at all. And I've never understood the idea of going backward in production. There's a difference between sounding raw and having like an energy.
Yeah.
That's a thing. I get that. Like next year or later this year, we're gonna do a Chariot record that is that. It is raw. There's feedback.
So much
it's crazy.
feedback.
And yet it still sounds better than model death metal production. And I just don't get it at all. Like, whatever.
And Ranch.
Yeah.
Well, this came out on Century Media, so even more straight down the middle, like
100%. And honestly, for Century Media, well, again, it's because they're Scandinavian and because they recorded. Well, I guess we'll get into that, but best production of any Century Media album ever made,
probably, yeah,
potentially, yeah. Was that the question about it being death metal?
Yeah, I have no idea what death metal is. I know this is it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with lyrical content. A lot of it has to do with trying to be like heavy and catchy without being catchy. You know what I mean? Like like Stripped, Rape, and Strangled by Cannibal Corpse is a brutal as fuck song, and the lyrics are horrendous. But the chorus, the chorus is catchy. Like there's no way around it. Like it is catchy, but you know, it gets into technical death metal when you're doing a bunch of shred solos and you have like 50 parts in a song and
virtuosity on display.
Virtuosity all over the place. Yes, exactly. And this is just no frills, heavy, fucking death metal. Just what thrash turned into in the late 80s.
Which is impressive given the members of the band, because they are each quite virtuosic in their own right. And actually, a lot of the reviews leaned toward like, good for these guys, you know, wanting to blow off some steam. They're all incredible musicians to begin with.
Yeah.
But they know how to like tone it in for the kind of thing that they're trying to produce. Like,
yeah, they could have easily done something. Again, to me, it sounds like a bunch of dudes who grew up listening to death metal, which would be shocking if that was not the case,
right?
Especially where they're from. Just wanted to make music that they grew up listening to, and I think they nailed it. For this album, we've got I'm gonna do my best, everyone. I tried to I looked up like 50 interviews with this guy, and everyone just says Peter of Hypocrisy. So yeah, but Peter Tagrin, I looked up a pronunciation and it did say Tagrin, and I'm just going to, it's one of those like computer generated AI pronunciations, so I'm sure it's wrong, but on lead vocals, which I want to get into the lead vocals a bit, because I find this, I don't know,
only in the band for this studio release.
Yeah, and yet he's on half as many albums as what's his name,
Michael Ackerfeld.
Yeah, how does he actually say his last name? Is it Ackerfeld?
Ackerfeld.
So yeah, Anders Nystrom. There's probably a hard O there, given the umlauts.
It's so hard. He's a member. All right, I'm done.
Man, hard member is tough.
That's awful.
It's not good.
No.
Oh no. Oh boy. On guitars, bass, backing vocals, which
I'm
is
impressed
interesting because it's
as how many people on this album are listed as guitar, bass, and backing vocals.
You mean everyone except the vocalist and drummer? Yeah,
exactly.
You know what? Now that I've said that, I'm not going to repeat myself 2 more times. So I've got Dan Swano, more
I said Swano.
Umlauts there, and Jonas Rinksey.
Rinse cycle.
And then, rinse and repeat on what they do on the album, those 3. And then Martin Axenrot on drums, which I think is the best last name of all time.
It's super good. And he is the drummer who came from Opeth. And actually, there was the whole member shuffle. Like, I just want to read out loud the beginning part of the wiki for this album, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Dan Swano was the guitar player. No, was the drummer. I'm going to read it. It's the band's only album to feature Peter on vocals, replaced Michael Ackerfeld, as well as the first to feature the Opeth drummer Martin Axelrod to replace Dan Swano as the drummer, Swano now playing guitar. This was Swano's last album with Bloodbath. It's just too bad.
That is too bad.
He was in the band until 2006, but...
Oh, okay. That's fair. Hold on. The only thing I'm a little confused about is I thought Axelrod played for Bloodbath before he played for Opeth.
No, I think Opeth first, and he's been in Bloodbath since 2004.
Okay, I'm just at this point. When did Axelrod join Opeth? Do we know? Is that a thing?
He was.
Gene Hoglan was in Opeth for a year?
I think I knew that.
No, Martin Axelrod joined Opeth in 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I think that's how he got into Opeth, is he was in Bloodbath, and
okay.
Ackerfeld came back for the 19th time.
Right.
And, just basically took him with him, which is a good call, by the way. To say he's a good drummer is really doing him a disservice. He is very high caliber. I mean,
he's still listed as a current member of Bloodbath too.
Yeah, no, he did their most recent album, which I don't like their vocalist. Their new vocalist is he's from other things too. He's not just is he in Catatonia?
That'd be crazy, but probably. I mean, this is like an eternal side project for these dudes.
True. No, he's in Paradise Lost, excuse me, which Paradise Lost is another band that puts me to sleep, and I
Parakeet
don't like.
Lost.
Yeah, definitely Parakeet Lost.
I'm just going to keep doing dumb shit with names today.
Parakeet Loaf.
Oh, gross. Parrot keeps lost.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, we're talking. Okay.
Bloodbath.
So those are the members that are on Nightmares Made Flesh. Not the members now. You pointed out that Swano left, and it's kind of the two main dudes are still in it.
Yeah.
Anders and Jonas, but everyone and Martin Axelrod is still in it as well, but he was kind of a late addition too. But so boy, I have lost all train of thought. I've got nothing.
We could dive into a track by track breakdown. I mean, we already talked about how this is death metal. I guess I could look at some of the song titles also and be like, oh, yep, that's
you mean
metal.
Soul Evisceration?
Yeah, Cancer of the Soul. Soul on 2 songs, huh?
Stillborn Savior with an IOUR. That's
Blood Vortex.
How does one be a bastard son of God and a stillborn savior? Explain that. I don't know. Seems like those are in opposition.
I think that totally tracks, right?
You know what? If I think about that too much, I will pass out. Yep. So,
my only wish is to be eaten.
That's the song, by the way. And I bring it up in my track by track. If you've heard Blood, you know what though? I just want to point out, as much as Ackerfeld is tied to this band and seems to be the thing people think about, he's barely on anything. He's on he's on 1 full length or 2. 2 full lengths. Ackerfeld only did 2 full length albums, and it's why is he the thing? I understand it's because he's probably just because he's from Opeth, but right. And I don't know if this is controversial at all, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say I think Peter is so much better for this band than Ackerfeld was. I think his vocals for this. I'm not saying Peter could go and do an Opeth record. You know what I mean? Maybe he could. Hypocrisy is one of my favorite melodic death metal bands. The dude, he can't do any wrong until he joins up with the singer of Rammstein and makes that abortion. That's awful. If you like it, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just not my cup of tea.
Just the words that you just said, I thought in my head, ugh.
Yeah. It's not good. And the Rammstein guy's dealing with his own problematic situation right now for rape and whatnot.
Don't be problematic. Don't be a dick, actually.
But Cancer of the Soul, good starter to Nightmare Made Flesh. It's just a great death metal song. Yeah. Great opener to a death metal record.
To me, it had a weird, like, necrophagist feel to it. Like, that was the association my brain made at first.
Yeah, and then there's a dance beat in it.
Yeah.
Which I love.
The song structure was super sweet. It maybe a little repetitive, but, like,
yeah,
it was sick bits all throughout.
Agreed. And I actually kind of appreciate that. I think the repetitive thing is a thing that repeats itself on this album overall.
Yeah.
But I do like that a death metal band made a record and they tried to have song structures and, you know, like, I don't want to say pop sensibilities, but it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a chorus, there's a verse, there's a, and I dig it. I dig it. Sometimes death metal can go a little far afield, which is a thing, by the way. I've had 2 people tell me they've never heard that, and it's not that weird. Far afield? Is that even odd?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it comes up at, like, if you listen to the Omnibus, like you do, like, Ken says it a lot.
Yeah.
Ken and John both.
And he's maybe the 2 smartest people that I've ever witnessed. You know what? I'm gonna take that as a win. Anyway, it's just the throat thing after the guitar break is sick in Cancer of the Soul. It's just a good song, and I think it immediately, for me, cements Peter is, like, crushing it, like, in this realm.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a track, but listen.
Yeah, I don't have a lot.
I do, because I've just gotten in the habit of doing that.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I mean, it's here, but I mean, how many times do you want me to read the words like, "Oh, that's a really sick riff"?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that. I will say that they do a very good job of, like, kind of obscure, atmospheric lead guitar kind of things. I think they kind of crush that. And I like where that lives on this album and with their music overall. They don't solo for the sake of soloing, but when they do, it works. Like,
there's not a solo in every song.
Right. And when there is, it's good. And it's not overly complex. I liken it to The Haunted, where it's like, no, they're not melting your face off, but it adds something to the song when they do it, which I appreciate. Yeah. Again, it sounds like this is a masterclass in straightforward death metal to me. Like, it's like, if you want to just if you want to sound like death metal and you don't want to have a subgenre outside of that, this is it. I mean, this is their ode to early 90s, late 80s death metal. I mean,
that was essentially the gist of every review too. And every reviewer gave it like 4, 4.5 out of 5, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, A. Like, it's just really well done.
So to your point, that's a good call. I
do have something that's entirely for you, and it was a note I made for the song Eaten. And
awesome.
It made me want to ask the question, what is it with all you anthropomorphic food mascots and always wanting people to eat you? It's just the way we're wired.
That's just the way we're wired.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the tuna episode of Good Eats.
Yes, absolutely.
Season 13, I think. 12. Season 12. I'm going to say season 12.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do they go out of their way to not call him Charlie?
That's interesting. Maybe.
I think they do. I think there's like a
don't they call him like Alvin the Albacore?
Alvin the Albacore, yep.
Man. Let me tell you what. That'll come in handy one day. Yeah.
Shout out
Alvin
to your anthropomorphic food mascot, Alvin the Albacore.
That's the best thing that's ever happened on this podcast is you bringing that line from you. That is very well. Great episode, by the way. If you've never made the tuna croquettes, they're very good.
They're extremely good. You should actually, everybody listening should do that right now. Put on the Nightmares Made Flesh album from Bloodbath and make tuna croquettes a la Alton Brown. Good eats.
Season 12, episode 3.
Nailed it.
Boom. Fucking, I got nothing going on, everybody. Nothing.
Oh,
you know what? And for most people, I think that would be sad, but I'm extremely excited that I nailed this season.
Yeah.
Unless you're pregnant, don't eat the croquettes. Mercury.
Tuna.
You gotta try to avoid tuna.
You can have plenty of other fish, but tuna's too big.
But you got to fish downward. You got to go to the smaller things like mussels and stuff.
Yep.
Because the
Guppies.
smaller fish have a little mercury, and then they get eaten by a bigger fish that already has mercury, and that mercury goes into their bloodstream, so on and so forth.
Actually, if you are pregnant and you want some fish, check out season 14, the episode where he makes the sardine toast.
Yeah, sardine toast is great. A lot of sardine haters.
Sardines are great.
Sardines are great.
I think now, we should probably get to the review.
Put mustard on your sardines. Blow your mind.
Oh,
the
absolutely. Review! So, I would rate sardines a solid 20 out of 20.
Hell yeah.
Nightmares made fresh in this kitchen.
That you're damn right. Bloodbath, more like.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know. I had a couple thoughts, but they weren't good.
Okay.
They were very bad, and even in my mind's eye was like, I don't think so.
Craig. So speaking of your mind's eye, what would you rate this album artwork?
Hell yeah.
For note, we're talking about the one with the like greenish cast
tint. Yeah.
Not the very vibrant red one.
Which honestly, depending on where you look, is going to be the right answer. I don't know, but we're going with the one that was associated with the original release. But there's a cassette release, there's a vinyl release.
The LP version's sick.
My god, it's so sick. I had to like actively not compare the two.
Right.
But the artwork, I loved everything about it. I think it perfectly. If they as a band are a love letter to death metal, this album cover is that as well. It does not let them down in that space.
This is the kiss they sealed the letter with.
Yeah. The only problem with this album cover is the album we're going to cover next week. So.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that, I'm going to give it a 4.
That's crazy.
Because I do love it, and I think it perfectly encapsulates. Yeah, Capulet and Montagues.
Montagues.
I think it nails what they're trying to do, and I think if you know death metal and you look at this cover, you're gonna know you're getting a death metal album. So I'm giving it a 4.
Man, spoiler alert! I'm gonna rate both of them a 5 because I think they're both on the same tier, and you can't really compare the two.
You know what? 5.
Yeah,
talk me into it.
It's a perfect album cover for this album, for this band. Like every detail is really well executed and thought out.
You talked me into a 5 for the artwork because it is very, very good. What do you think about the production then versus now?
So I wasn't sure where to land on the production. Like,
okay,
I don't know, man. Like, it's great. I mean, it's really good. I don't know if I like the sound. Like, it's pretty. It's got a lot of high end. There's not a lot of low end, which like
Yeah.
but then I think back to like a Cannibal Corpse album, and there's too much low end, but it also came out many years before. So like, the drums sound like you just poured a bucket of water out, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's garbled, and this is not garbled, but they hadn't quite figured out so I guess production then would have been great, but in my opinion, it hasn't quite held up. So
that's fair.
I'm gonna go with it's not a 3. I'll go with a 4.
4.
And it was produced by Jens Bogren, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that before.
No, we didn't, and I'm glad you did, because that dude is a superhero. He's produced everything, like just everything. Everything that the other guy that did Dimmu Borgir didn't produce, or what? Did he do Dimmu Borgir?
I don't think.
No way, right?
I'm clicking. He did Soil Work and Opeth and Catatonia.
Yeah.
And Amon Amarth. Okay. And LVT, Alluviatai. And Paradise Lost. And God Forbid. So no.
Oh, it's God Forbid that I was thinking of. Okay. Oh, because Jans must have come up, though.
And Devin Townsend Project. And Vilcharta.
Man. Dude crushes it.
Yeah, he's amazing. What did you think of the production?
I gave it a 5. I think I was getting the low end, but I don't know if that's a difference of, it could be just what we're listening to it on, or it's not there, and maybe it's just.
I heard the bass.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
You're right though.
Yeah,
it does teeter on the high end, but like, I want to say to your previous point about how sometimes death metal can be a little like gobbledygook. Maybe I found it refreshing that it was so far the other direction, maybe. But yeah, I gave it a 5. And by the way, if you recorded an album today that sounded like that, it would still, you'd be fine. It wouldn't be like the best production, probably.
Right.
But like, no one would be like, when'd you record that? 2004?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right. So, impact at the time.
That's probably a 2 for me.
Yeah.
I was not into death metal in 2004. I was more on the Opeth side. I wanted the melodies and stuff. But it didn't not get in. Like, I was aware of Bloodbath, and like they came up on Century Media mixers, and I was like, oh, cool. My only wish is to be eaten.
Editorial, Josh said 2005, and he meant 2004.
Didn't I?
Yeah.
Fuck. That's next year.
That is. I can't wait, by the way. That list is
so
incredible.
Pumped.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
You know what? Part of me thought when we started this that this was like a foolproof plan, because like there's never not going to be a year without music.
Right.
But what I didn't expect is for me to look at 2004 and be like, this is crazy. And then look at 2005 and be like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It just gets better and better. I can't wait. I hope we do this for legitimately 20 years so we can get to like Inferi and shit, and for me to be like with a cane at that point, probably because I'm already broken.
Right.
Be like, I remember when people made shitty death metal. That sounds like shit. Anyway, you gave it a 2.
I gave it a 2.
I did listen to death metal in 2004 quite a lot. That was probably about when I started.
Yeah.
I was more of a black metal guy. I got into black metal before I got into death metal because of Immortal, specifically Sons of Northern Darkness, I think. And what was the Damned in Black? I got into them pretty early. So I wasn't super into death metal. See, I kind of gave it a 2 as well, but mostly because I'm not saying death metal didn't have an influence on me in 2004, but I don't even think I knew of Bloodbath in 2004, if I'm being honest. I'm not even sure I had heard of them, really.
Which is a little weird, because they did hit a Hellfest, I think, and they were also featured on Viva La Bam, which I steered clear of Viva La Bam. We were OGs with CKY.
we liked CKY. Jackass fizzled out quickly for us while it became bigger for everybody else.
Yep.
And, it is what it is. I hate that phrase, and I keep saying it. It makes me want to die.
But it is, in fact. Like, it's a fact.
But yeah, I gave it a 2. I didn't really know them at the time. I think Ryan got me into them years. I mean, once he got into Behold Eternity and he showed me a lot of death metal, I think he was a little more ahead of the curve than I was with that stuff. So yeah, 2 for me. It's not indicative of the band. They're great. And I didn't want to give it a 1 because death metal did matter to me at the time. I was trying to learn how to do such things and all that. But, it just, this band particularly, they didn't show up. Yeah.
All right. Did you enjoy listening to it today?
The only thing that stopped me from giving it a 5 is that death metal, by its very definition for me, gets a little repetitive and long in the tooth.
Yeah.
There are great songs. Honestly, there's not a bad song.
No, all of them are great.
They're all good. They're all good. It's just what did this album come in at? Like almost an hour.
Minutes,
yeah.
And then some demos.
45 minutes? Oh, that's what it is. And I skipped the demos. I didn't include those. But it's funny. I kind of shit talked Ackerfeld for only being on 2 full lengths. But I never listened to their full lengths. I only listened to their EPs because it's sick.
30
4
minutes.
fucking songs of death metal. You got it. Sign me up.
Right.
But I'm still giving it a 4 because I can't fault it at all. This is just my death metal attention span essentially just letting me down as I go on.
Yeah. I also gave it a 4 for much the same reason, but I was kind of, the couple of times I listened to it, I was kind of drifting in and out, so... it did get long in the tooth, but it would come back and I was like, oh, yeah, death metal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And, there was some songs that I haven't heard because I've never listened to this album in its entirety. So there were bits that I was like, all right. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You can only listen to I can only listen to death metal for so long.
Right. It's just very little room for, it's just such a straight line.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get out off its tracks at all. And I'm not saying it should. It shouldn't. I mean, it's exactly what it should be. I don't think they should change anything about this album. I think it's technically a perfect death metal album. I just personally can't listen to 45 minutes of death metal and be like, hell yeah.
So, on interstate highways, they're not completely dead straight because you would just want to crash into a bridge if it was.
Exactly.
So they put a little bit of wiggle in there. But I mean, people still fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Through Kansas. So
yeah.
I mean, there's an attempt.
Fuck you, Kansas.
Yeah. You've been dadded.
I hate Kansas.
Nobody's safe.
I don't know if I've ever been to Kansas.
Kansas is never mind. Montana's the upside down cat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kansas is
sucks.
The band that made.
Oh yeah, they're good.
Is that Carry On My Wayward
Son?
Yeah. So we have got for Nightmares Made Flesh by Bloodbath. Josh gave this a score of 15.
Yeah.
And I gave it a score of 16.
Respectable.
For an overall score of 31. Well done,
pretty
Bloodbath.
Solid. Yeah.
That is pretty solid. As we are wont to do here, we talk about hockey stick shaped pizza.
Yep.
Amongst other things.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
The song Hockey Stick Shaped Pizza by the Swedish band Bloodbath.
Yeah. Hockey stick shaped pizza by Salty Swayze. Yeah. I think we're getting it. We're eventually going to have an album's worth of data. Yeah, and then I will backward engineer it and write songs, and then we will. Yeah.
My favorite song was Outnumbering the Day.
Sick. It is so good. And it's got a little black metal flair going on.
It does. It's got some shit in the background there, and the finger tappy bits. There's some complexity to that song that I really appreciated and needed 4 songs in.
Yeah. Fair enough. I am I'm so tied on this for Brave New Hell and Soul Evisceration. I'll go with Soul Evisceration, if nothing else, because the song title is fucking incredible.
It's great.
Like, I don't know how to eviscerate a soul, but I'd be down to learn if you're out there and you know.
I think you just put it in a Vitamix.
Fair, yeah. If they were real, but yeah. So
Vitamixes?
That's my souls.
Oh. I was like, you can buy a Vitamix, dude.
Expensive. Well, those aren't the expensive. What
they
am
are.
I thinking of? No, Vitamix is the expensive one.
So these
What's your
songs?
Yeah.
These favorite songs.
So those are our favorites. I am. I've got Soul Evisceration for me at track 3, and Outnumbering the Day for Josh at track 4. And those will be added to our playlist on Spotify, the one that I can never remember the name of. It's either 2 Decades Too Late Favorites, or 2 Decades Too Late Favorite Songs, or TDTL Favorites, or TDTL Favorite Songs.
Try them all, please, and like every single one of them. Don't just support us, support everybody else. Support each other.
Yeah, support each other. Love one another. TDTL Favorite Songs. I made it, and I still had to look it up.
Sick.
Fantastic. Okay. Check us out on Instagram at TDTL_podcast. Sometimes we post pictures of the Golden Girls.
We do, don't we?
Sometimes.
I guess with that, he's been Brad and in a mood, and I've been Josh. And we've been 2 decades.